So I'm not going to start with introduction. I'm actually just going to start with an exercise, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ring the bell again, and I'm going to ask you to put your hand up when you think the sound has gone. Okay? Put your hand up when the sound has gone, okay? I will come back to that later. So my name is Emma Reynolds, and I have various hats. My hat for today, for this moment, is mindfulness teacher. So I'm trained in mindfulness-based stress reduction, okay? MBSR. And I'm also trained by MISP, which is Mindfulness in School Project, to teach what they call Course B, which is basically mindfulness for primary students. Okay. And today I am here to talk to you about emotional intelligence. So, what is emotional intelligence? Here's a nice long wordy explanation for you. Emotional intelligence is the capability to recognize your own emotions and those of others, discern between different feelings, label them appropriately, use emotional information to guide thinking and behavior, and manage or adjust emotions to adapt to environments or achieve one's goals. Boom. Okay, did you get all of that? That was from Wikipedia. Okay, so I'm just going to break that down a little bit. Recognize emotions. Use emotional information to manage and or adjust emotions, so that would be within yourself. Adapt, which would be within yourself and maybe with other people. You're recognizing emotions in there. And this is to help you to achieve your goals, i.e. take in information, retain it, and use it. That would be useful, wouldn't it? So, why do you think there might be a need for this? Okay, so for example, there have been many studies, and in fact I've also been part of one of the studies at the University of Dublin, and basically they did the same thing as they did here. So in the Harvard study, they discovered that 47% of the time people were not concentrated on the task in hand. We're often just not here. Present, in this present moment. So I know that for half of this talk, your mind will be somewhere else. Think about that email, worrying about that conversation you had 3 years ago. Did you turn the light off? What are you going to have for dinner tomorrow? No? We have these minds that just can't stop themselves from wandering off all over the place, okay? So I forgive you. It's alright. You're going to miss half of it, but try and stay with me as much as you can, okay? 47% of the time, do you think? What do you think? Do you think that's a low? Do you think it's a lot? Do you think it's a lot? Anybody think it's low?
It's low.
Do you think it's low? Low in your students, perhaps, as well, maybe? How much time do you think you spend saying, pay attention, concentrate, right? On what? How? That's the problem. They don't have the tools, do they? How? You know you want them to focus their mind, but have you given them a way to focus their mind? Have you taught them how to focus their mind? Do you know how to focus your minds? Okay. So 47% of the time we're off wandering about mentally. We're off in the past, worrying, ruminating about those things. If only I married him. Oh, if only I moved to another country. You know, all that. Okay, so there we are, off in the past. Or in the future. Now you're all teachers, most of you would imagine some planning going on. And that's fine, you're allowed to plan. You've got to work things out. But how many of you find yourself planning at 3 o'clock in the morning? Yeah, then what? She said something a bit strange to me. I wonder what that means. Well, I'll game plan, a chessboard out, and I'll, you know, all of that goes on. So all in that future. And with that comes a heck of a lot of anxiety and worry and stress, doesn't it? Trying to plan out and somehow control all those future scenarios that might happen. It's impossible. And yet we still have minds. We've got like a little mind up there, little fix-it man who comes out and goes, right, we'll go fix at 3 in the morning. Great, really useful, thank you. Okay? So we're off floating around, okay? It's not our fault. We have as much control over our thoughts as we do our saliva glands, okay? They just secrete. The mind just secretes thoughts all the time. They don't really know, but maybe 85,000 thoughts a day, okay? So how many of those are happening during your classes? You're trying to get them to concentrate on something and they are off all over the place. Okay. So, you can't concentrate if you're distracted. And you can't learn if you're not here. And what I mean by here is present with your mind on the task. Okay? And not only that, you might have learned something, but then get so stressed out about the thought of what that exam or that test is going to be like, you can't then actually do it. Now, we do have something in our mind that creates this, okay? So we get like a block. So if you ever think of a time when, I don't know, think back, you lost your keys, or you thought your wallet had been stolen, or your bag had been stolen, you know, that kind of like, whoa, that, oh, I feel it now, in fact, whoa, you know, all that adrenaline, cortisol, stressful standing up here, okay? It's all rushing through the body. It's called your fight and flight mechanism. Fight and flight mechanism, no? It's making you ready to do something, to act. And linked with that is your emotions. Emotions, motion, move to do something. To run towards something, or to run away from something, or to freeze. Okay? So there you are, your wallet's stolen, you go, I can't think. I can't think. Yes, you can't think. Because we've got, I'm not going into the whole neuroscience of it today, but we've got the amygdala there that is looking for problems all the time, just checking to see if there's a tiger on the horizon that we need to run away from, or an email that we need to deal with. Okay? The brain can't tell the difference. They're all serious as each other. Okay? And when we notice, when we find that there is a problem, or we imagine that there is a problem, i.e., I'm going to do terribly at this exam, or I'm in the exam and I didn't study the right things, what happens? This part of the brain takes over, and the top part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, this part here, okay, the thinking brain, the creative brain, the imagining brain, it gets pushed out of the way, okay? No time for thinking, we've got to act. And yet the very thing you need to do in those moments, like when you're sitting doing the exam, is not run, is not fight, is not freeze, it's think. So there we are, we've got this tension between the two situations. Stress creates the very alternate situation that we need in the moment. What we need is to be calm and to be able to access that knowledge that we've planted there, okay? So how are we going to help our students to do this? Okay. So, stop. Very good start. Okay, so I brought this little character in here. This is I don't know whether you have these. Do you have these in Spain as well? They're used. Okay, so we call them, I remember these types, the weebles wobble but they don't fall down, okay? So we're a bit wobbly. Okay, my wobbly sheet. So I want you just to think, when I say wobble, What I mean is like an emotional wobble, you know? A rush of stress, anxiety, anger, frustration, that can also tip into things like depression and sadness, okay? So, I didn't quite expect you to say that before. So, I might ask you to use some paper if you've got some, but you can just take just one piece of paper and pass it around. Okay? So what I want you to write down is something like, when I talk to the headmaster or headmistress and they ignore me for the 10th time, I feel really frustrated and think about leaving my job, for example. Okay? Something like that. Okay? So when X happens, I feel Y. Okay? And then you can continue. Just one sentence. That's all it is. Something that makes you feel a bit stressed, a bit wobbled, you know, upset. That's what makes you upset. So let's just do this quickly. And then when you're ready, I'd like you to just scrunch that up. Okay? Scrunch it up. Scrunching, scrunching, scrunching. Scrunching on the floor. Okay? And we're going to have a paper fight. So everybody over here, who's got their lovely scrunch paper, is going to throw it over there. And your job is to try and catch one of them. Okay? And everybody over here, scrunch up your paper. And you're going to do the same. I'd like you to launch them over there, and you've got to try and catch them. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Right, here we go. Everybody ready? Throw away your walls, go! If you got a piece of paper and you wouldn't mind reading it out, obviously it's not now yours, it's someone else's, please can you just read it out? So what we're doing here is just finding out what's going on in people's heads and in people's situations. Okay, so would someone mind reading one out that they think is of interest? Okay. And maybe just one more. One more. Yes, go on. Yes.
Okay, when I have to talk to my students' parents because they misbehave.
Parents misbehave. Stressful having to talk to parents when the students, I believe, are misbehaving, no? I bet there's a whole range of things that we could look at that you're all feeling and recognizing. Some are more extreme than others, some of them are absolutely you, others that aren't, okay? This is a really nice way to share experiences without it being your experience, okay? Because I think quite often students and human beings feel like it's me and my problems and my situation, and it's to do with me and my my childhood, upbringing, whatever, relationship situations, it's me. And this is a way of really being able to share through a whole group, so you'd allow, a lot more time just to get those things out. Also, you're getting them to write, you're getting them to write in English, you can explore a whole thing about emotions, etc. So you can, weave it into your class in any way. But it's a way of getting it out there, because I think once they realise, oh, it's not just me. There's actually quite a lot of people in this room that suffer from stresses and strains, things that I hadn't even realised. That's interesting. We start to feel a kind of connection. within the group, within the room in some way. And that can be a starting point to start to talk a little bit about emotions. Now, I understand you're mainly English teachers, you're not therapists or anything else, but you are there dealing with young, impressionable minds. So we want to try and help them to connect with those emotions in some way. How do we do that? Okay, so we're going to do a little exercise now, where I'm just going to ask you to do a 3-step breathing space, okay? Now this can be as short or as long as you like. I haven't got a great deal of time, so I'm going to make it relatively short. The first part of it is really tuning into how you feel, okay? So we're going to look at your thoughts, your emotions, and your body sensations, okay? We're going to do this without anybody speaking out loud, okay? It's just your own personal, internal investigation. Secondly, we're going to come to the breath. We're going to breathe, notice our breath, and then we're going to come back out again into the room, so to be aware that we're in a room with lots of other people. So I'm going to talk you through it, but what I would like you to do is just to sit up straight, okay? So the body posture has a huge effect on your emotions, okay? Like that. No? How do I look happy? No. Okay, I look a bit depressed, right? A bit fed up, a bit sad. How does that look? Do you recognise that? We just do it automatically. We're not used to sitting up straight. There we are on the computer concentrating, the lines there. What? That's actually sending a message to your nervous system. It's closing you up. You're not breathing properly. Okay, so just this opening out. It's really good for you. Just that one thing. I can see people smiling just at the thought of it. I can just sit up straight. Okay, so just sitting up straight, preferably without your backs against the chair even. Okay, so now what are you doing? You're really deciding, I'm going to be present in this moment. I'm not slouching watching TV. I'm here. And I'm interested in how I am. How am I? So if you'd like to just close your eyes, or if that feels uncomfortable, because for students sometimes that can feel uncomfortable, okay, just lower your gaze and just connect with one spot in front of you, okay, whatever you feel like doing. Okay. So, here we are. Just noticing your thoughts right now. So there's no wrong or right here. Just your thoughts. So if your thoughts are, God, I wish I was in the other room, that's fine. If you're thinking, oh, that email, I should have sent it, that's fine. If you find that your mind is somewhere in the past, or wandering into the future, or in the present, in a place of judgment, or boredom, or whatever it's doing, just notice it. You don't need to change it. Whatever's here is here, and it's fine. Okay? So what kind of thoughts have you got? Are they worried? Are they anxious? What's here? Okay. Good. And now I'd like you to just become aware of how you feel. So just this very simple question. How am I? How do I feel? And just notice what comes up. You don't need to create anything. It could be tiredness. It's a feeling. It could be hunger. Could be feeling a bit anxious, actually. Could be feeling a bit excited. Just again, no need to change it in any way, just this quiet, non-judgmental tuning in. How do I feel? Okay. And then finally, just turning towards body sensations. So usually emotions and feelings have an echo in the body. So just for a moment, just tuning in to how the body feels. Okay, there's different ways of doing this, but maybe you just want to go through the body, like a body scan. So just from the head all the way down, around the ears, the face, coming into the chest, the back, noticing where there's tension. And as much as you can, just allowing that to be there. Because often we try and push these things away, yet what we're doing is creating more resistance. So this is just a dropping in. How am I? What's the weather like with me right now? So going down through the body, you may notice chest, shoulders, belly, maybe a bit of tightness in the belly. Down through the hips, the knees, and all the way to the feet. Okay, good. And now I would just invite you to become aware of your breath. It may help you just to connect with your breath by putting your hands on your lower belly. Okay, so just sort of below your belly button. And you don't have to do any special breathing. It's just a tuning in, just a noticing. Breath coming in, breath going out. Seeing if the hand moves a little. Notice if the mind has wandered off. Remember, half the time it doesn't want to stay on the task in hand. That's fine as well. But just come back to the breath if you choose to. Try to imagine that when you're breathing in, you're filling up a balloon. It's going all the way down, all the way into the belly, and on the out breath it's coming all the way out. Just doing 2 or 3 of those. And then finally, just becoming aware of the body sitting here again, maybe sounds in the room. And then when you're ready, just opening your eyes, just have a little, Now, kind of popcorn style, whoever wants to shout out, how do you feel? Better. How do you feel better? More relaxed, okay? Anyone else? How do you feel? More conscious, more aware, more here, present. No? Great. Anything else? Receptive. Yeah, okay. Clean up. Like a clean up. Absolutely like a clean up. Because we spend a lot of time not checking in with ourselves. And so these things happen all day long, little disappointments, little frustrations, all the way through the day, and then suddenly, out it comes at someone. You think, oh my God, where did that come from? It's been building up all the way through the day. So this is a really great technique. I took a little bit longer, and you can just do it very quickly. How am I? Close my eyes. How am I? What thoughts are here? God, I'm really judgmental at the moment, but that's okay. I'm not judging the judging, okay? I'm judgmental, I'm anxious, I'm frustrated. Whatever it is, just notice it, okay? How am I feeling? How is my body reacting to the way I am? Okay? And then this breathing, this gentle breathing is really, really key. Because what we're doing is we're telling the nervous system, it's okay, I've got it. Because when we're stressed, it all goes up into the chest, doesn't it? All that breathing up here. And actually, we don't very often do deep breathing. And yet, when you look at babies, they naturally breathe from the belly area and we sort of lose it. So as the tension rises, the breath rises as well. So taking the breath down. And look what happened. We felt better, we felt more conscious, we felt more here, maybe a bit more ready to learn, right? That the next 5 or 10 minutes might actually go in because you've brought everybody into the room, okay? So, potentially this is something you could do with your students. So, back to this long phrase again. We're looking at the capability to recognize our emotions. Okay? This is key. The first point is that, the waking up and going, God, how am I right now? What's going on here? Okay, so the recognizing the emotions, the waking up to what's happening in the present moment. Now, this is taken from Pause B, which is the course that I teach for primary. And what I love about it is it's very, quite sort of straight. What I mean by that is it will go through things like this. It will tell you about the prefrontal cortex and what it does and how it helps you to learn. It will talk about the hippocampus, same thing, about how it helps you remember things. And here, I think it's like week 3 or week 4, it talks about the insula. And the insula is a part of the brain that helps you to recognize emotions in yourself and in others. Okay? So, I'm really glad you came to this session. You got to do a little bit of meditation now. Look at puppies. It's all good for the calming. Okay, so the insula is going to help you recognize what's going on with these various puppies. So just quickly, what's going on with the top one up there? On this side? Sleepy, relaxed, content. No, there's definitely nothing going on here. This one? Angry. Yeah, what are you up to? No, in my garden. This one? Could be curious. Yes. What? I can't hear. Furious. Sorry, furious. Okay. And what they do to that dog? Where they're sort of in fight and flight mode here, aren't they? You know, and a little bit. This one's starting to trigger. Okay, it's starting to go off. Okay. So this insular part of your brain is helping you to recognise this. You recognise it, so that's an explanation for the students. Like you know, we can use this, we can train this. Why is this important? Because it's important to recognise how we feel, but it's also important to recognise how others feel as well, and to adapt and make our relationships work better. Okay? Why do they got a picture of a dog in there? The picture of the dog is a very useful way of explaining what the mind does. The mind wanders off like a puppy does. Okay? It's untrained. Now, when you're trying to bring your puppy back and sit and stay, how long does the untrained puppy stay there for? About 3 seconds, no? And it's off wandering around. Okay? So what we're trying to do is train the mind to stay, and we're trying to train the puppy to stay. How would you train a puppy to stay? What would you do? Food? Yeah. Food. Repeating. Yes, praising, repeating. Yes, bit by bit that dog is going to come back and learn that, oh right, this is where I've got to stay. What would happen if you didn't do that? If you were very nasty to your dog, you know, you shouted at it, maybe you hit it when it was naughty. What kind of a relationship is that going to create? Is that going to be a fun, happy puppy? Or owner? And yet that's kind of what we do to ourselves. Why can't I concentrate? Oh, I'm such an idiot. Oh, you know? But we want to try and bring our minds back. How do we do it? By gentle repetition. Well done. Don't worry, your mind is going to wander off. Don't worry, puppies wander off. We know that. It is the nature of the mind to wander off. But when we've woken up to it, we can bring it back. Okay? Bring it back to where we want it. So, yes. So what we did in that exercise earlier, just to clarify, with our awareness, is that we have this triangle of awareness. And there are 3 things that we're constantly looking at, bringing ourselves back to thoughts, and how thoughts affect emotions, and how emotions can affect our body sensations, okay? And that they go in a looping circle. So imagine you're stressed out about your exam. My thoughts are, oh, I'm not going to do very well, I'm so useless, or I'm never going to remember it all. Emotions. Now I'm quite anxious and stressed. Sensations, I feel a bit sick. I feel a bit worried. I hope I don't feel sick on the day of the exam. But other thoughts, what happens if I'm sick during the exam? Oh, you know, it just goes round and round and round in a circle. So how do we get off this constant, like, rotation that we get stuck on, this rumination, as they call it, by coming into the body? Because when we can't fix the things up here, okay, not very often. Sometimes you can, in the moment, I know what to do and I'm going to fix it. But when we've got stuck in rumination and panic and stress modes, No amount of thinking about it is going to fix it at that point. Okay, we've lost it. We flip the lid, we're just in a stress pattern. So the way to get ourselves out of that and to get our bodies back and our minds back is to do exercises that calm ourselves down. When we calm ourselves down, we bring ourselves into sensations. Okay? So when we concentrate on like the breath, for example, that's body sensation. The mind wants to wander off and you go, no, mind, I don't want you to go over there. I want you to come back and be with the breath. Now the mind thinks looking at the breath is really boring. Okay? Now I've got to think about all these really important things. But it's about making a choice. Keep coming back, and slowly but surely the mind will do what you want it to do, just as the puppy will do. It's okay, you wandered off, but now you've come back. Very well done. Now, students, you can take on what I'm talking about. Okay? So, here are some of the practices that Horsby suggests. Quite often, students of all ages, and even adults, have difficulty connecting with their breath. Okay? This happens automatically, we don't think about it. Yet connect with your breath, it's not what I don't want you to do. Okay? So things like putting your hand either on your chest or your belly, as I asked you to before, and just getting students to but like, you know, they've raced into the classroom and they're all hyper. And you've got to go like, oh God, I've got to spend the next 10 minutes calming this down before I can actually teach anything. Just going, right, let's just do this one. Let's just try noticing where the breath is most acute. So where we can feel it, in the chest, in the belly. Just, you know, to get interested in our state. Fourth block is feet on floor, bottom on chair. Okay, it's one of their little exercises. It's very similar to the 3-step breathing space we just did now. Now, when you're doing these things with students, there is a temptation to giggle, you know, and laugh a little bit. So you have to sort of set it up so much. It's like, can you imagine you've got like a little bubble around you? Okay? There's a little bubble here. And like I mentioned before, sometimes they find it difficult to close their eyes because it's like, well, I'm going to get pushed or hit, you know what I mean? Or I'm going to look silly or something. So maybe they're not ready to do that. Maybe they just need to lower their gaze. Okay, this is like baby steps. It's like the puppy. It's just like you just try these things. One day it'll work, another day it won't. But just to incorporate little exercises. Another one that's really good is the petal practice. I'm just going to ask you to do this now. So if everyone just take their hand. Okay. And the idea is that you're just going to time the movement of your hand, and you look at your hand, with your breath. Okay, so perhaps when you're breathing in, your hand opens. And breathing out, it closes. So just watch your hand and just let your breath move the hand as though they were petals and the opening and closing. Okay? So, again, how do you feel? What do you notice? It's got a calming sensation, hasn't it? And on top of that, it gives you something to look at, okay? So there's a visual going on, it's about senses, the sight is being activated there. There's also an awareness of the breath, and there's a movement. So students find it difficult to sit still. This is quite a good one to just really concentrate the mind into one specific focus, okay? It doesn't take long. You don't need a whole load of equipment. You just go, right, petal practice, okay? And off we go. And this is another one you can do. So, same idea, but just maybe a little bit more advanced. So you get the students to just, so as they breathe in, it's all about following the breath. And you can try this now. So you breathe in, and then you breathe out, and the hand finger goes down. So you breathe in, and breathe out. Breathe in. So again, you've got something to focus on. It doesn't take too long. It's a sensory experience. And there we are. It's just this bringing them back, so they can start to do some learning. Okay, so maybe all of this feels like it's too hard to incorporate. Oh, this and everything. It's not going to work. I'm going to get to sit still. This one, this, is a great one. They don't even realise what you're doing. You're just saying, put your hand up when the bell is finished, okay? Golly, does that make your focus? Is it now? The focus was intense in here. I want to get it right. When does it end? That's a way of bringing them back into the room, okay? Maybe this, I mean, this has got, a lot of connotations, this bell, so maybe this is not suitable. It can be another type of bell. Because especially with secondary students, the words meditation just send their mind into Oming and Buddhism and all the rest of it. It's like, if that's getting in the way, then don't even prompt that, because it's really unnecessary. What we've just done in that other thing, the 3-step breathing space, was a mini meditation. What is a meditation? A meditation is just sitting down, being quiet, and tuning in to your own experience. If you say the word meditation, people get a load of ideas. But actually, it's just that. It's just sitting quietly, being with ourselves for a moment to notice, okay? To help them through things like stress, or exams, but all sorts of performance. All sorts of performance. This is very stressful. Standing up and performing in front of people, okay? And some people are stressed by some things, and some people are stressed by others. So it's not the actual stressor itself that is sort of to blame. It's how we view it. So for example, my example is always, like my partner loves skiing. He loved to go up in a helicopter, okay, and be sort of more or less pushed out on top of a mountain and ski down. Now I can't think of anything worse than that, okay? That would get my fight and flight mechanism going like 10 to the dozen. But he thinks that's brilliant, that's the best fun ever. Getting him to come and stand up and talk in front of people would be the worst thing to do, okay? So is it the activity, is it the thing that's stressful, intrinsically stressful? No. It's how we view it. And that's to do with a whole sort of genetic makeup, past experiences, a whole bundle of things, okay? So we never really know what stresses students out. But that, throwing those messages to each other is a good way of finding out, because you may also discover all sorts of things that you didn't even realise. You're going down one avenue, but actually, they're over here, okay? So, and as I say, our thoughts affect our emotions affect our bodies, and vice versa. Okay, so there's this spiraling going on. Okay, so why do I call this face the fear? Because we'd all like to get rid of fear. We'd all like to not be stressed. We'd all like not to be anxious or ever be angry again or sad again or whatever. But actually life is very complete when we live all of our emotions and all of our sensations. It would be a very bland life indeed if we didn't go through this roller coaster of all of these emotions. So, we're not ever going to get rid of them. What we're trying to do is find a way to work with them, okay? So facing the fear, facing what's going on inside of us can be very, very powerful, okay? Because what we resist persists, i.e., the more we push those things away, the more they just pop up, more and more. So for example, things like anxiety or stress, I was going to say, it's a bit like having a child that's on your sleeve, like a small child that's like going, mum, and you're going, no, go away, I don't want to, I can't deal with you right now, no. What happens with that child? Does it go away? No. It gets louder and louder and louder until it has got your full attention, okay? And by that time it's screaming. So it's the same with our emotions and our feelings. If we don't deal with them, they eventually, they come up. And we know that when we get really stressed, we get really sick, we can get really sick. It can have an effect on our relationships, the same with the students, okay? So, facing the fear, facing it, looking towards it, in these calm moments and saying, yes, there is stress here. Yes, there is anxiety. Yes, there is whatever is turning up. And I am going to be kind to myself in this moment. How can I be my own best friend in this moment, okay? Because what we often do, and students do this as well, is whip ourselves for being how we feel. And then it doubles up. I'm so angry about being angry. I'm always angry. I'm so sad that I'm sad again. I'm so anxious about all this anxiety I've got. It keeps just... So, cutting through, facing it, coming towards it, getting in touch with it in some way. Okay? So, to sum up. So, my recommendation would be, in some way, to help your students to tune in, okay? To notice what is happening with them. And that really it's baby steps. To start with short practices, okay? Another nice one to do, I must say, apart from the bell, which is like a tricky one, you know? They don't know what you're doing, but what you're doing is getting them to concentrate. Another one is say, right, I'm going to count a minute, close your eyes, and I want you to tell me how many breaths you take in 1 minute. Okay? And then we'll see at the end what that is. So they think it's all to do with counting breaths, but it isn't. What you're actually doing is just getting them to focus on their breath. And just by the very power of focusing on the breath becomes deeper, it calms the nervous system, it makes them become aware, more open, more receptive, and now you've got them. Okay? So these are great little tricks for when you're in the middle of teaching and, I don't know, it's just got a bit chaotic in the room. You know, like, okay, let's just do one of these for a moment. Just to change the speed, the pitch, to cut into what's going on, and just bring them back so that you've got them. And this is important, normalising their experience, you know? So again, it's about this sharing of experience, that it isn't just them, okay? But we all, from time to time, suffer from these experiences, from these emotions. Ultimately, we do have a choice. I've noticed where I am, and now I've got some tools, okay? Something that I can do to help myself. And this is really useful. They're sitting there, about to take a test, about to do something really important. We've given them a skill. I'm just going to do this. I feel myself stressed out. I'm just going to do this. Just for 5 seconds. Just to bring it all back. Present now. Now I can actually do my best. And that we have what they call plastic brains, okay? So the time that the brain is growing the most is obviously when we're children, okay? But actually it never ends. Our brain is constantly being reshaped by our experiences. And neurons that fire together wire together. So what I mean by that is that when all of our life experiences have markings on our brains, more severe traumatic experiences have more markings on the brains, okay? Because you also don't know what you're dealing with in your students, okay? You don't know where they've come from, or what experiences they've had at home that morning, or something that's been going on for years with the parents. Who knows? It's not your job to ask them either, but what you can do is give them some tools to deal with it. So if they have got into a patterning of a lot of stress, which is to do with genetic makeup and the situations that they're in, if you can give them some tools to basically go inside themselves and go, okay, this is what I'm feeling, but I can in some way be with it, and I have these tools to breathe through it, calm myself down. Those are amazing life skills. Okay, that goes from outside of the classroom, that takes them into the playground, how they deal with their relationships, with their family, their friends, and on and on and on. There's a lot of talk about, okay, we test children's IQ, they're obsessed by how they're doing, and they're doing well enough, you know, where are they in the tables and all the rest of it. And yet the emotional side of things is rather left to just happen naturally. Who tells them? Okay? What if their parents aren't very emotionally capable? Okay? So if you are able just to give them a little window of possibilities, of things that they can do to bring to their own lives, to calm themselves down, to be with the stresses and strains of life, that's an amazing thing that you can do for them. So neurons that fire together. Because ultimately, we get good at what we practice. Okay? And we know that. You can't play the piano, you can't play the piano, you practice, you practice, you practice, you practice, you can play the piano. Wow, how did that happen? Your brain helps you. It wires together the neurons that need to work together. So if you or your students are in patterns of judgment, blame, stress, okay, that's their automatic default, their automatic pilot, that's what they jump to first. Those neurons are firing together quickly. And that can be changed, that can be broken. That's why we have these things called plastic brains. They used to think that our happiness levels were set at a certain level. Okay, we couldn't do anything about it. Once the brain matured at 22 years old, more or less, that was it. You were stuck with what you got. And they've now realised that that's not true. That you can actively do things to make yourself happier, to be calmer, to be more compassionate to yourself and to others. Okay? All wonderful things to learn. And here's another reason. So 30 years ago, the onset of major depression most commonly began around 45 to 51 years. Now it's 13 to 18. It's really serious. There is a really, really big concern worldwide of what's going on with depression. And that it is coming, every generation, you're more likely to be depressed, and you're more likely to be depressed earlier. Child depression was something people didn't talk about at the beginning of the century. Now, 8-year-olds can be seen to have depression, even 5-year-olds. Okay, so it's a pretty serious thing that we're looking at. So to give them tools to help them be with themselves, be calm, kind of stuff. So there we go. Emotional intelligence and mindfulness. So if you're interested, the two things that I mentioned are MBSR, which is what I teach, but I'm not here to sell you a course. Mindful-based stress reduction, you can look it up online. It's a course that you can do. You don't have to do that. You can also find apps like Headspace, things that help you meditate, come into the present moment, etc., etc. And MIST, now that's Mindfulness in School Project. Again, they have a very interesting program. I come and do these talks because I feel that I think it's such an important thing that children are educated emotionally as well as just this. The whole child has an education. Okay? It's important, yes, that they do well in their school exam, but it's also really important that they can go out into the world and feel good about themselves and that they are able to do their best. So if you feel inspired to do something like an MBSR course, which is brilliant just for yourselves, because the teaching profession is very stressful, but then on from that, to go and train and do mindfulness for your students, that would be amazing. Because we have a very, very, very full world. No? We used to have these moments where we could just sit on the bus, look out the window, and daydream, go blank. Just moments of like nothing really happening, like that puppy dog. We don't have them anymore. The moment we have those moments, we bring out the mobile phone. And then we start worrying about what's going on the other side of the planet. Okay, it's very stressful. And then we're setting ourselves back into the fight-flight mechanism. Now we're of an age, more or less, when we remember a time before that. But the next generations that come, they don't remember that. They don't know that. That this thing in their hand, or whatever's become, is the norm. So we have to, surgically plant these moments back into their lives of calming things down a little bit. They used to believe that, like, because we've got cavemen brains, basically, men and women, we've got our cavemen brains, and they haven't really changed in all that time in our evolution. So when we were back in the cave, they used to think that possibly 70% of the time we were in our very calm, relaxed, nothing really happening, shouting, skinning a rabbit, I don't know what we were doing, looking at the fire, telling stories, but just this feeling of community and calm. And that just for maybe 30% of the time they would be either in fight and flight mechanism, so they were running towards something to chase it and eat it, or running away from something so they don't get eaten, okay? Out searching, striving, etc., etc. And they think now that that is flipped. that actually we spend the majority of our time in worrying, stressing, anxiety, and if it's not that, we're striving. The endless to-do list, no? We just get one off and another one arrives. And that very, very little of our time is actually just that doing nothing. Just feeling alright, nothing really going on, okay? So again, placing those in their lives. And for you to just think, you know, you're a teacher, you're trying to get this information into that brain, that message into their brain. How? How do you do it? That's the thing. Create circumstances that they will be able to listen. And that practice, practice, practice. You get good at what you practice. Okay? So a little bit of practice every day, every other day when you see that group is going to start building something. Okay? So, if you have any more questions about saving the world. I'm also, my other hat, as I said, I've got 2 hats. My other hat is I'm also the director of Blue Mango Theatre Company. We're an English theatre company with ladies in English for all age groups. I've got some brochures here if you're interested. But we're downstairs, we've got a stall, so you can come and talk to us. We're going to be here the next few days. On the website, we've got, just give you 2 seconds. On the website, there is a section called Mindful School, okay? What I do is I go to schools and I talk about this. I go in and I do mindfulness practices with teachers, not with students, with teachers. Okay, we've got stuff like that. And on Friday, we're going to be doing a completely different session. We have a hat on. We're going to be looking at CLIL subjects brought to life, theatre, dance, and music. Okay? So,